Hold up. Hey, big money, overweight. Big pop, overweight. Bad bitch, suck on my dick. Body.
What is good, you guys? Croeso to Ivor Reacts. I am Mike, and I am here to give you my World Cup preliminary predictions. Now, we are just over a year away from the Rugby World Cup being held in Japan. And you know, over the next year, it's about to get serious up in here. So, what I've got over here on my phone are all the teams who have already qualified. There's still one team left to qualify in the repeat tournament, which will be held in November, and that is between Canada representing the Americas, Hong Kong representing Asia, Kenya representing Africa, and Germany representing Europe. Now, I'm not going to lie, out of those four teams, the smart money is on Canada, right? It is. The smart money's on Canada, but I wouldn't be surprised if Germany got through. So between those four teams, either Canada or Germany are my picks to qualify for the 2019 Rugby World Cup. Now, looking at the teams who have already qualified, in Group A we got Ireland, Scotland, Japan, Russia and Samoa. Now, this group is kind of easy to predict who's going through. I mean, you can't bet against Ireland and Scotland. Fucking hell, I went to do a Scottish accent then. That's not going to work out for me. And Scotland to get through. I mean, you can't bet against them. You know, Japan, I think, are going to be in a good scrap with Samoa for third place and gaining automatic qualification for the 2023 Rugby World Cup. But honestly, Russia are going to finish last in our group. That is my prediction right now. Samoa, I think, will come fourth, Japan third, and then we'll have Scotland and Ireland going through. Now, it's a bit tricky to predict this one, on which one's going to finish top of their group, because Scotland over the past couple of years have been on a massive upward trajectory in how they have been playing, and I gotta wait to see what they're going to do in the Autumn Internationals and the Six Nations they on down the line. So at this moment though, I'm going to say Ireland will win that group. Scotland second, Japan third, Samoa fourth, Russia fifth. Moving on to Group B with New Zealand, South Africa, Italy, Namibia, and whoever wins the repatch, I don't even know how to pronounce this word, repatch, I don't know, but whoever wins that little 4-team tournament I was on about earlier, yeah, they're going to be in this group. And looking at this group straight away, you gotta say New Zealand are going to win that group. They are going to absolutely batter every single person in that group. Now, South Africa have been going downhill for the past couple of years, but I do not see any of the other teams, even those who may qualify, being able to beat them. So South Africa should be able to get through relatively easy, and Italy should come third. They should. Namibia, I think, will end up finishing last in our group. Not gonna lie, it's gonna be a tricky group stage run, but yep, New Zealand to win that group, South Africa to come second, Italy third. I think Canada will be the other team in that group, so I say Canada fourth, Namibia fifth. Moving on to Group C, which is basically the group of death. It really is the group of death, because you got England, France, Argentina. 3 kind of big teams. You know, it's not as bad as 2015 where it was Wales, England and Australia, but this is going to be a tricky one to call. I mean, you got the United States and Tonga in this group as well, and to be honest, they're going to be battling for fourth. You know, I'm going to give a slight edge to the US, but the best either of those teams can hope for is fourth place. And then moving on to the top 3 teams in this group, honestly, it's a tough one to call. It really is a tough one to call, because I know the Rugby Championship is going on right now, and Argentina, you know, they just got a nice good win against South Africa, if I'm correct in saying that. So we're going to see how they perform through the course of the Rugby Championship and the Autumn Internationals, and then on the run-up then to the World Cup itself. But I don't see Argentina making it out of that group stage. I really don't, because France, they've just started to show back up again. I mean, France have been absolutely nowhere for the past couple of years. All of a sudden, they started to show up again. And England, you can't really deny England being a absolute force in rugby. So my prediction is going to be England winning our group, France second, Argentina third, US fourth, Tonga fifth. But it could go either way. And then we go to the final group stage, which is Group D, where it is Australia, Wales, Georgia, Fiji and Uruguay. Now, Uruguay, you're finishing last in our group, I'm not going to lie. It's going to be a battle for third between Fiji and Georgia. I think Georgia could just about edge out Fiji, but Fiji are no pushover, so I'll take you back to 2007. I mean, they knocked Wales out of the World Cup back then. So, you know, Fiji are more than capable of causing an upset, and we're going to see what Georgia are capable of over the coming months on the run up to the World Cup. But honestly, out of this group, you got to put Australia and Wales to get through easily. Now, Australia are probably the smart pick to win this group stage, and I'm going to say that they'll probably win this group stage. Wales are capable of beating Australia, but whether we'll do it, that's another issue. So we're going to move on now. We got our 8 teams who will proceed to the quarterfinals, obviously from Group A, Ireland and Scotland, Group B, New Zealand, South Africa, Group C, England, France, and Group D, Australia, Wales. Now, this is where things start to get a little bit interesting, because Ireland will go up against France. Now, I favour Ireland to win that game. So Ireland to beat France to get to the semis, that's smart money. That's smart money right there. And then we got Scotland versus England. Now, this one will be a very interesting game, because Scotland, they're on the up. They are on the up. So we're going to see what they're going to do. I actually believe Scotland have got a very good chance of beating England. And England might be a little bit happy, and you know, maybe Ireland might be happy as well, that both of them could potentially go up against Scotland. But Scotland are no pushovers anymore. They're no pushovers. I actually think Scotland could do it, but I'm gonna stay unbiased until I've seen what Scotland are gonna be playing like in the Autumn Internationals and the Six Nations. I'm gonna say England to win that game just based on past performances. So England to beat Scotland to get through to the semi-finals, and then we got Australia versus South Africa, and I think that's a no contest right there. I think Australia are gonna take that game with relative ease. And then we move on to what is probably going to be the most painful game for me to talk about, being Welsh. Wales versus New Zealand. Now, we haven't beaten New Zealand in over 60 years. 60 years, and I don't expect that to change at the Rugby World Cup. I honestly think that New Zealand will give them a game for like 50, maybe 60 minutes, and then New Zealand will have that 20 minutes of glory where it's just pure masterful rugby, which no team can ever compete with. So I think New Zealand will probably knock out Wales in the quarter-finals. And then we got the semi-final games, which will be Australia versus Ireland and England versus New Zealand. Now, England versus New Zealand, once again, gotta say, New Zealand seem untouchable at the moment. You know, I don't think England will be able to match that. So New Zealand go straight through to the finals, and England to the third place playoff game. And then we got Ireland versus Australia, and I actually, sure, it might seem a bit out there, but I actually think Ireland. Ireland have never made it past the quarterfinals before in a Rugby World Cup, but I think this Rugby World Cup they could go all the way to the final. I honestly think they could, because France and Scotland would be, you know, teams that they know very well. They know how to beat France and Scotland, which would be their two games on the lead up to Australia, and I think they'd be on such a high that they would be able to defeat Australia, which means it will be battling out for third place, the old great rivalry between England and Australia. Honestly, Australia to get third place in that matchup. And then we got Ireland versus New Zealand. That is my prediction for the final of the 2019 Rugby World Cup, Ireland versus New Zealand. And I think it's going to end with New Zealand being crowned world champions for the third consecutive World Cup. I don't see any team being able to touch them. Now, there are some variables in the World Cup which can also throw a few spanners in the works, because like I said, I mean, Group C is kind of difficult to predict with France and Argentina in there with England, so any one of those teams can actually win their league, win their group. Any one of them could. I mean, New Zealand, South Africa, I think that's a given, but you know, Scotland, Ireland, difficult to predict who will come out on top in that game, because Scotland, they can beat Ireland. Scotland can do it. And then it comes to Wales and Australia. Now, if Wales turn up, Wales have got a good chance of winning that group. And that's not me being biased or anything, because preliminarily I said Australia to win it, but if Wales can beat Australia, Wales to win that group, and then it goes to either, well, South Africa. If Wales can win that group, we play South Africa, because I don't see South Africa beating New Zealand whatsoever. But if Wales and South Africa go up against each other, Wales have proven that they can take on South Africa and absolutely destroy them. I think, you know, South Africa, they're not making it past the quarters, no matter who they go up against. And Wales, if we win our group, I think we could actually go all the way to the final. Now, just picture this for a second. 60 years of losing to New Zealand. If Wales can win their group, Wales versus New Zealand in the final. Now, that's a bold statement, but if Wales can beat Australia in the group stage, we know we can beat South Africa. And then it's a question of either Ireland, Scotland, England, France or Argentina, whichever of those teams, you know, come out on top in their respective groups, and whoever wins their game in the quarter final. Now, all 5 of those teams Wales can beat. So it really comes down to a what if question. A what if question, because personally, going just by what I said at the moment, I do honestly believe at this moment in time that Australia will win Group D. But if Wales can beat Australia in that group, it's a passage straight to the final for Wales, because there's no team left that we can't beat apart from New Zealand, and we'll end up facing New Zealand in the final. However, no matter what happens, honestly, I do believe New Zealand, the All Blacks, are going to be 4-time rugby world champions, 3 times in a row. I don't see them, getting beaten by any team. But when it comes to a build-up for a final, I mean, New Zealand versus Wales, that is a tasty build-up for a final. 60 plus years of history of losing for Wales. Wales playing like absolute champions. I mean, in 2011, right? If we didn't lose to France in the semi-finals, I reckon that Wales would have been good enough to beat New Zealand in the 2011 World Cup final. I honestly reckon we were good enough to go all the way. Unfortunately, luck wasn't on our side. We got a red card, and France, they got a nice win, and then New Zealand beat them, but wasn't by a great margin, But then obviously 2015, New Zealand just fucking dominated, didn't they? So, just going off this preliminary prediction, New Zealand are going to win the Rugby World Cup for the 3rd time in a row. Now, when it comes to the final, I honestly think it's either going to be Ireland versus New Zealand or Wales versus New Zealand. Potentially, we might see Australia versus New Zealand again. We've seen it before. We know how it goes. We kind of want to see a big game between the Northern Hemisphere side and the Southern Hemisphere side. We want to see Titans go head to head, because at this moment in time in the world rankings, I do believe New Zealand are number 1, Ireland are number 2, and Wales are number 3 in the world rankings at this moment in time, if I am correct in saying that. I will actually go ahead and check that out just to have a little look, and yep, I am correct. It is New Zealand, Ireland, Wales, England, Australia. So, I would personally wouldn't mind if Ireland got to the final, because I think it would be great for Ireland, If Wales can beat Australia, I think Wales have got what it takes to go all the way to the final. That is my honest opinion, because Wales can beat Ireland, Wales can beat Scotland, Wales can beat South Africa, Wales can beat France, Wales can beat England. But it all depends on whether we can beat Australia, because if we don't, we've got to end the 60-year losing streak against New Zealand in the quarterfinals. I mean, if Wales can actually do that in the quarterfinals, put your money on them straight away to win the World Cup, because if we are able to beat New Zealand, that's it. If we are able to beat New Zealand, people better give us fucking props. But yep, that is my prediction. At this moment in time, 1 year out of the Rugby World Cup, we're going to see what happens in the rest of the Rugby Championship, the Six Nations, the Autumn Internationals, the Summer Tour, and the pre-World Cup warm-up games, which always happen. So, my opinions will change over time, but this is my preliminary opinion. It's either going to be New Zealand versus Ireland in the final, or if Wales can beat Australia in the group stage, it'll be New Zealand versus Wales. So that is my prediction for the 2019 Rugby World Cup, 1 year out, and now we're going to see what happens in the Autumn Internationals, the Six Nations, the Rugby Championship, and we're going to see who's going to be on form going in to the World Cup. I've been Mike, you've been watching a prediction for the 2019 Rugby World Cup, and I shall catch you in the next video. Lego.